it's hard for me to believe whoever did that also did this.
Did the skateboard guys?
Yeah.
And this artist just puts weird people on all of his artwork from this era.
Totally radical, man.
I wonder if those are people he knows.
Possible. Like
Like, I can't think of any reason to include these particular people in an illustrative Acheron, except, oh, so these are my buddies, and I want to put them in the game.
they're clearly not
Like
intended to be
skateboarding
literal
pros.
Planescape characters.
Right.
In their jeans and like
We'll have to,
No,
we'll
I
have to
told
find
you,
him at Gen Con
those
one
are
year.
all anarchists.
these are very clearly like 1990s grunge Seattle hobos.
Right,
Yeah.
anarchists.
Yeah. I think they're close to being actual Planescape characters. Like,
They're getting there.
they're one face buckle away.
So Riot, how do you ask these bugbears to announce you when you arrive?
Okay. Riot explains that her name is Tyor Chaos Tongue, and they are from a world where humans and dwarves have largely wiped out bugbear kind through magic and trickery. And we have heard of a power that we seek to appeal to and wish to know more about.
Okay, and these other three with you are your servants? Your
They are the
underlings?
rest of the... Right, my underlings, the rest of the escapees.
Nobody questions you, but there's a little bit of murmuring because they all watched Liberation claim that weapon and wrest it away from one of their own. So, in their minds, they're not sure which of the two of you is in charge.
Riot explains to them that I always send my underlings out to do the fighting first. Organizational strategy is needed, but when it comes down to it, I'm only too happy to swing in myself. But why do that when I have underlings?
And so you want all this to be explained to Chinax when you arrive.
Right.
Okay.
If she's wondering who do I deal with, the answer is me.
Okay. Mahogany, where are you going to be when they go inside of this pavilion?
I figure I'll just keep a good lookout
Okay.
from the skies.
Wait, watching
Right.
the skies?
Watching from the skies.
From the skies.
Yeah, Riot wants to also send a message to Mahogany
Yeah.
to ask him to stay in that form. Because it's gonna be part of our cover.
I have a lot more than 1 hour.
Okay.
And then also, when Riot is approaching the War Chief's tent, is going to cast Glibness.
This
So I don't want to fail any of these rolls.
Okay.
This is a new
Glibness.
spell.
Glibness is essentially Riot wins social encounters.
Do you have a song for it, perhaps? Probably not.
It's not a song, and the reason it's not a song is because a song I feel like would be too obvious if Riot starts singing a song. What it is a particular whistled tune.
Now I'm picturing that
The
creepy
Glibness song
hospital
is just
scene.
about how you're gonna get one over on them.
Right, exactly. Like that's a stupid way to cast a spell that's about fooling people.
So the four of you come into this pavilion. And you see Chinax in here. She has 6 of her bugbears armed inside with her. There's not like a war table or anything, but the ground has been covered with furs, made comfortable for them all to sit. You can see that they're in the middle of tearing apart some manner of Acheronian livestock that was kept by their previous camp that they managed to get away. At this point, they're gnawing the last bits of muscle and blood off the bones. But there's 7 of them in here altogether, so the War Chief plus her 6. As you all enter. She looks terrifying. First, her skin coloration is much different from the rest of the bugbears, where they all have this kind of pale, like orangish color. Hers is much, much more pale. It's like borderline, like pastel, milky tone to it. You can see the furs that she's wearing, she displays her entire collarbone down to the middle of her chest because she suffered a grievous injury there in some previous war that she now wears as a badge of honor. Like the bone structure in her collarbone area looks lopsided and deformed. She wears bones all over as decoration in the form of jewelry. And I'm not talking about like little animal bones. I'm talking about like people bones that have been broken and shapen together into bracelets and piercings. And very notably, she does not have a weapon to hand.
Right.
And when you walk in...
I'm looking at this Bugbear art again. I just noticed the 2 hands nailed to the shield.
Oh, I don't think I noticed that detail.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there they are.
Yep, they're totally there.
This isn't official artwork. I think this came from... I mean, it came from a Google image.
That is
is it third
definitely
edition?
third
Okay.
edition.
That's the 3rd edition. Bugbear,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, there he is. She walks in.
I never noticed the nails. Sorry.
I didn't notice the hands until Nick just pointed them out.
I thought the hands were decoration on the shield. I never noticed the nails.
Riot, she asks you, or rather she says, instead of introducing herself or her lieutenants, instead of kind of kowtowing to you the way that the rest of the Bugbears have since you arrived at this camp. And she doesn't seem to regard your 3 manservants at all. She says, and she's speaking in common, but it's not a broken common. It's a very worldly form of common, like somebody who's spoken it quite a lot or was raised with it.
Okay.
She says, I'm told you do not speak the words of Rugek.
I don't. Rugek is unknown to me and mine. We didn't travel the plains for a long time. We didn't know of the plains. And what I have gathered since then is that we come from a plane where Rugek is not known.
She stares at you for a long time. I'll let one of you make an insight check. Whichever... Well, the party have one... Anybody but Mahogany, since Mahogany's not literally in the room.
I got it.
Okay. It's wisdom insight.
I'm proficient in insight. That is a 26. Or, no, that is 31.
31. Okay. You can see almost immediately that there's something wrong with the way this Bugbear Warchief is looking at you. And you twig to it right away. She can see through the seeming. She can see through the illusion. She knows you're not Bugbears. And she's regarding Riot with a kind of simmering suspicion. So, do you do anything with that information? If you do, you're going to be having to jump into this conversation or use some form of telepathy that I'm not sure if you have access to.
Definitely don't.
Okay.
I mean, you have one.
Riot.
Mm-hmm.
I heard an
I'm thinking.
Okay. Riot.
Give me a moment.
Chinax begins inquiring about some of your... I mean, because she's heard that you're from a world where dwarves and men have wiped out most of the goblinoid races. She wants to hear about some of your war exploits. What are some of the victories that you've won against these men and dwarves and making good your escape from that terrible world?
Okay, Riot makes up a bunch of bullshit about her escape and says that they stole 2 scrolls from these powerful mages who were trying to exterminate them. One we used. We managed to use, and it's what binds the air outside to our service. The other we intend to present to you as a gift in exchange for information about the Relentless.
One of the war chief's lieutenants leans into her. Kelian, you don't get any indication that the other 6 guys in the room can see through the disguise. It looks like just the war chief can. But they exchange some quick words in Bugbear, which Liberation, you understand, is... Ask them... You understand as something like, they seem quite fat. Ask them for an offering of their food. The war chief nods. And she says, again in common to Riot, that before there can be any discussion about these magics you claim to wield, she would have a gift of your foodstuffs. And she nods towards Nath, who's carrying 13 days of rations.
Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
Riot looks over to Nath and says, give her over. How much do we have left?
And I'll start parceling my rations out of my pack.
Okay. Do you give all of them over or only part of them?
All of them.
Okay. And so there's a little bit of work as the lieutenant set the largest portion of them aside for the war chief, and then the second largest portion for them to divvy amongst themselves. And then one of them gathers just a pittance of what's left to take back out to the rest of the camp, leaving you in there with the war chief and 5 of her lieutenants. And this whole time, she's watching Riot very, very intently.
So, sorry, this is me asking the DM.
Mhm.
They've kept the vast majority of the rations, and they've kept. And
All
they've
in
split
all,
them.
they've probably kept... I mean, there wasn't a lot there to begin with. 13 days of food for one person. But they kept probably half for themselves. The larger portion of that would have gone for her. The next portion to be distributed from the lieutenants. And then one of them gathered up what was left. Like maybe just 1 or 2 days worth for Nath to take out for the strongest warriors outside of the pavilion.
God. Oh.
Keelan's,
Oh, yeah?
I was going to eat
That's
that
the
shit.
Riot's gonna ask. Riot's gonna ask Avgi where she learned the common tongue from, and if she places such store in the words of Rugek.
She's kind of squirrels up her face in contempt and asks by what authority you come in here demanding answers from her.
Riot points to the food.
Mm-hmm.
That's her answer.
Kelian's groans were, he felt like he should say something about making sure all of the soldiers get food, but he respects that action as a taker,
Right.
so he didn't say anything.
And also, he's just kind of hungry.
She says she wants a demonstration of this power, how you bind the wind to your whims.
And Riot says, "Who shall I demonstrate it upon? Which of your warband is most expendable?"
And immediately, several of the lieutenants have suggestions. None of their warband is expendable, but they do have a couple prisoners amongst them. I mean, when their bigger army broke up, these bugbears would have rallied up some amount of goblins to shovel their shit for them, kind of thing. And yeah, so a goblin is brought forth to the front of the pavilion. People gather around. Chinax is not watching the goblin. She's watching Riot.
Yeah. Mhm.
And what happens next?
Riot calls out in. Man, right? Mahogany can't understand Aquan, can he?
Don't.
Oh, I super can understand Aquan. Mahogany is a water genasi.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're on Genasi. Yeah, Riot calls out in Aquan. Attack that one.
Now, Mahogany, this goblin they've brought forth, I mean, he was a fighter at some point. He probably tried to escape. I mean, his arms and legs have been hobbled and broken. I mean, they've dragged him from the cage. And this is the most pitiful looking creature you've probably ever seen. What do you do to it?
Yeah, I knock him unconscious. I kick the shit out of him. He's a goblin.
So you're just going to swoop down? I mean, are you making a show of it or just knocking
Oh,
it?
yeah, absolutely making a show of it.
Okay. How do you feel about this liberation? He's
Is he on
speechless,
mute?
I can see.
This is where Riot and Liberation become best friends. 'Cause
Yeah.
Liberation realizes he sees being a prisoner as being a slave.
Okay.
God damn it, my microphone wasn't unmuting when I was hitting the damn button.
Actually, you know what? I think Riot is going to see Liberation's like queasy look
Yeah.
and say to Mahogany and Aquan, now carry him off far away out of their sight, and I'll explain.
Yeah, alright.
So you,
I'll just whip him around and bring him up into the air. I mean, I'm not trying to kill him, but it doesn't look super great. Because in my mind, I don't want these guys to think that we're going easy on the guy.
okay.
But just like carry him off.
I mean, it doesn't take much to knock this goblin unconscious. I mean,
Yeah.
he was pretty severely injured as it was.
Yeah.
And then you carry him off out of the camp, like the wind
Yeah.
just carries him away. A lot of these bugbears are very impressed by this.
Yeah. Riot turns to Avki and says, the wind hungers sometimes. It's likely gone off to feed, I think.
And Chinex beckons your group back inside, along with her 6 lieutenants.
Okay.
And she admits, she says that your power is as vast as you say. So I ask why you come to me cloaked in deception. Why do you
Riot
wear the skins
looks
of
confused.
Hudek and hide what you are?
Riot seems confused.
Liberation
Says,
looks askance.
we have only 2 power, as I said. We have 1 power to control the wind, and we have another power that we are offering you now. Does Kelian want to jump in at this point?
That's what I was waiting to see.
No, Kelian's just like, fuck it, I don't care.
Let Riot twist in the wind.
The
Yeah.
end is chaos, baby.
Chinex's next question is why she should just not order her men to kill you and yours and take this power for herself.
Because that would be a colossal mistake.
She looks over at
Kelian is
Kelian.
very, very agitated.
Kelian receives a sending over the ring to speak with Mahogany saying, does Riot seriously want me to eat this guy? Because I'm not that hungry.
No. We thought this form would be best because it would be
Kelian, shut up.
Wait, here's the thing though. Riot has glibness up, so you find the suggestion to shut up very convincing.
No, it just means he believes what I say.
Yeah.
that we thought it would be the best way to approach.
Yes, we thought we needed a gift for you, and so we saved our most powerful thing. In exchange, Riot is like trying to salvage the situation that she doesn't
Kelian
know has
puts-
been blown beyond repair.
Kelian puts his hand up to his neck with a little motion, like, yeah, knock it off.
What?
She says, I acknowledge your strength, and I will accept your gift. but I would also require some measure of penance for the deception.
No.
What? What?
No.
What?
No.
Riot is looking back and forth between Avki and Kelian.
What would you like?
And the war chief exchanges some words with the lieutenants. The lieutenants are very confused at this point.
Of course
They don't know what their chief is talking about either. Liberation, you understand the exchange she has with her lieutenant to be something like, which of them has the fattest thumb to add to our collection?
I can regenerate that right back.
Liberation puts his hand on Riot's shoulder and just says, I think they've seen through it.
Mahogany, what do you do with this goblin?
I don't know. I just kind of like I put him down, and then I just kind of look at him because I didn't really think this one through.
Okay.
And Mahogany's just like, I don't really want a goblin.
But you have one now. So, this goblin is unconscious. I mean, you've injured him, but you haven't killed him. I mean,
I'm just kind of peering at him because it's like, I could heal him, but then I wouldn't be an air elemental anymore. And also, he's a goblin.
Does Mahogany have
he's
strong
just gonna-
opinions about goblins?
Mahogany's opinion is if we heal this goblin on Acheron, some random bugbear is just gonna take him over, and then he's gonna end up in a shitty war and die anyway.
Probably.
Essentially, he sees the futility of it. It's not that he hates goblins; it's just what good can we possibly do in the situation?
Okay. But you're staying put, watching over this goblin. Like, you're not just abandoning his broken
No.
body there. Okay, you're chilling out. Back in the pavilion,
Mm-hmm.
has Riot copped to the deception yet?
Yeah, I think she's gotten the picture now with what Liberation is saying.
Okay.
No thanks to Kelian. And says, alright, fine. It says, you want food, right? We can give you all the food you want. You want...
Now, are you dropping the seeming, or you're going to maintain the
No,
seeming through this?
I'm maintaining the seeming because
Okay.
it's a spell slot. And anyway, most of these goblins don't know it. It says, yeah, we'll give you all the food you can handle. You want this scroll, it's yours.
She says that for the time being, that she will consider the four of you to be prisoners of her camp.
And Riot says, that's ridiculous. We can leave anytime we want.
To which she reminds you that you came seeking her aid, not the other way around. The
Nath's
condition...
just going to interject. Look, if we don't like the way things are going, you won't have a camp. That will be the part of that statement that changes.
Nath, make a strength intimidation check, but make it at disadvantage, because she knows you're not actually a bugbear. She knows you're just a scrawny guy.
Oh, yeah,
in
no.
robes.
I mean, she might not quite get what squatty guys in robes can do then. That's a
Actually,
9.
scratch that. Don't make it a disadvantage. Just make it regularly.
That'd be a 14 then.
A 14? Okay.
Listen, she's been
She kind of smiles at Nath. She says, you speak as a bugbear to whom there is more than meets the eye. And she insists that there is more to her as well.
Liberation cocks his head.
I will give you 3 days. Back to Riot now. I will give you 3 days to fill the bellies of all of my troops. And if they are satisfied, and there is food left over, we will discuss an alliance.
And then Riot immediately casts Riot's Magnificent Mansion. And a portal opens up and she says, come inside.
You invite her inside?
Mm-hmm.
And she does not go. She sends one of her lieutenants instead. She absolutely is not going through this weird portal.
That's fair.
Let me double check and make sure this will work on Acheron as you're expecting it to.
Well, she just has to call out Riot's magnificent bivouac.
I guess we're not counting the magnificent mansion as a sentient being.
Hmm. Oh
because-
yeah, it's not a conjuring. Oh. Is it a conjuring?
It is a conjuration, actually, yes.
Oh,
But
interesting.
you're not actually conjuring a sentient being.
Right.
Okay. So, one of these lieutenants goes inside the mansion with you, and what do you do with him?
What he sees inside is like a battle feast hall, and there are weapons of every type and variety. Any type of weapon Riot has ever seen is hung up on walls. It's a giant banquet hall, and servants, Bugbear servants in full plate armor are walking in and out, setting a table of the stuff that she just really steamed and spiced meats.
Okay.
Is pretty much all they've got here.
And this food is legit. This food is actually filling.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's legit food. I think what it says is contains sufficient food to serve a 9-course banquet for up to 100 people.
At this point, you're in there with the
Less.
lieutenant, and he is expecting a trick. And he bids you to gorge yourself first. Once you've had your
Right.
fill, then he'll
Riot
take his.
does. Riot's hungry.
And you actually only get a few bites in before his hunger gets the best of him, and he starts eating as well. And this is the report he gives back to Chinax.
Mhm.
Your seeming's not going to last for 3 full days, is it?
No, it lasted for 8 hours.
For 8 hours.
Mhm.
So in the course of that 8 hours before the seeming ends, do you make sure that all of these bugbears get to come inside the mansion and have their fill?
Yeah.
What are the rest of you doing over the course of the duration of the seeming spell? The other 3 of you that still look like a bugbear for a little while at least.
Oh, I mean, you can consider the 4 of us because Mahogany's not going to sit there for 8 hours. He is
Yeah.
a fighter.
So you are going to abandon that goblin.
Oh, within 8 hours, absolutely.
Okay.
And
Mahogany,
Kelian
like
is-
within 30 minutes, like Mahogany has messaged Kelian, figured out what's going on,
yeah.
has left like a good berry sitting next to the goblin for when he wakes up,
Okay.
and has walked into camp as a bugbear.
Okay.
And when she looks at him, Mahogany is actually a bugbear because I'm shapeshifting.
Well, you can't wild shape into a bugbear
I'm not wild
No.
shaping. I'm
But
I have,
alter self, yeah.
I can alter self.
using alter self. Okay.
So like True Sight would still see and a bugbear, if that's what
Right.
she's got. I don't know what she's got.
Right.
Okay. What are the other 3 of you doing while you still have the seeming up?
What do you got, Kelian?
I don't know if Kelian would do anything.
Okay. Can food be
Well,
Sit around and pick at his teeth.
can food be brought out of the mansion?
I don't think so. I think it says any object. Let me look at the spell again, but I'm pretty sure any object brought out, like any of these weapons too,
Mhm.
would disappear.
Yeah.
So you guys, for this duration, as these bugbears are going into the mansion, eating their fill, the camp pretty much sees you as emissaries of a particularly powerful bugbear tribe from some very far away plane, and Mahogany, you are introducing yourself as another of their number.
Yeah, and every time Mahogany sees someone who's not a lieutenant with bigger muscles than he is, he's surreptitiously making his bigger.
So 2 things are going to go down before the seeming ends, because by that point everybody in the camp will have had a chance to eat their fill. But there's going to be a more large-scale display of these powers that you claim to have, control over the winds. Because at this point, you're now being touted as Chinax's new ally. The first of many groups who are going to come to her and offer their muscle to hers and raise the greatest army a Bugbear has ever led.
I'll just walk over and whisper, would control weather even work here? There's no weather to ostensibly control.
Whispering to who?
To Riot.
Okay.
Riot says control weather worked for me once on. Where did I cast it? Where there was no weather? I made a snowstorm in Sigil, so I don't think the usual rules of weather apply.
Oh, well, Sigil has weather. It's always raining.
Sigil has weather, yeah.
If you wanted to play up controlling the wind, that would be how I'd go about it.
I don't really care anymore.
So is somebody going to make a play at this weather control? Or are you going to try to squeeze your way out of it?
Yeah, I will say to Nath, if you don't want to waste what do you call them, valence?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to waste a valence, I can do it with my fork.
I can't control the weather.
Oh wait, why did you ask? I actually can.
That was why I said it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He was being polite, Riot.
What? All right, well, I'll keep it in my pocket in case they demand more display of control over.
Okay. Kelian.
Yes, sir.
As all of this excitement is going down, you're saying you're just kind of keeping out of it. You're just trying to kind of keep away from things, just kind of bite your nails, just wait it out.
Yeah. This was all his idea, but...
Liberation, roll me a wisdom perception check.
Absolutely. I can do
Perception.
strength perception. That is a 10.
A 10.
Mm-hmm.
Kelian.
Yes, sir.
At one point, while many of the bugbears have gone into the mansion and are taking their fill, Chinax comes over to you.
Oh boy.
Asks you to follow her into the pavilion.
Yeah, Kelian's game.
Finally.
Since last time you've been in the pavilion, a wooden block has been brought in. There's kind of like a table without legs, covered in dried blood. It's been hacked to pieces by cleavers. And there is a goblin standing in the room, one of their prisoners. She says, "You have the stench of the ringed city on you. And I see your light, despite the skin you wear."
All right. Those are both true.
She says she is going to seek an alliance with your commander.
Are you sure about that?
She says, "Do I have reason to be wary?"
Nah, she's capable.
And is she aware of the golden light that you carry?
Yeah.
Does she make use of it?
I mean, that's a complicated question, really.
I will say, if you want to answer yes, you can do so truthfully, because there was a time when Riot asked Kelian to cast the light spell, and he did, and it helped them.
That's not how Kelian is interpreting that question.
Chinax tells you that despite how powerful a sorceress your commander is, despite that she controls the winds and makes them move against her foes, I could place you in her stead, second to me only, in our contingent. We would dispose of her. This is a thing, a gift I would give to you in trade for a piece of your light.
All right. Hold on. 1, no. 2, you keep saying my light. What do you mean?
And she tells you she sees she sees rather through the illusion. Her eyes can pierce through the magics that the sorceress has conjured to make you look like a bugbear. And what she sees is shining, shimmering bloodline, the likes of which she has not seen since a sortie in the Blood War, where a contingent of Celestials was fighting against a tannery horde. She sees you for one of these creatures. She knows that there's power in your blood.
Oh, honey, you're going to be so disappointed. And Kelian says that.
And the two of you having this exchange in common, this goblin who doesn't speak common is terrified the whole time. Eventually a cleaver is brought forth, and you are bid to mutilate this goblin upon this block, to bleed him out, make it last as long as you can. And the more wretchedness and violence you bring against this goblin, the more and more of your light Chinax will be able to drink.
Huh.
And
Where's
if you do this for
liberation?
her, she will help you in overthrowing your sorcerer's commander and
No.
putting you in charge.
No, we don't. We're not doing that. That is not a thing we're doing. Okay.
Where is liberation? That's a good question.
Where's
Yeah,
liberation and all this?
He's probably been out and about making sure that none of the other bugbears have been like trying to beat each other up for food, because there's plenty to go around.
Oh yeah, no, I mean they're eating their fill.
The liberation.
Her mansion has it feeds what, like 100 people?
Yeah.
Liberation has just been kind of staying around the periphery, not really wanting to get too close to these guys, because he's kind of worried that someone might try to bash his head in this time.
And what about Nath? How's Nath spending the time?
Nath will go into the mansion first and get some food. Riot, were there any extra rooms in the mansion, or is it just the single large hall?
I just made the single large dining hall because I wasn't really expecting to use it for much.
And then I'll find a quiet, out-of-the-way place and cast tongues as a ritual.
Okay. There's not going to be a
after
quiet
that-
place because there's bugbears ravenously eating inside
Well, I mean,
the
not in the
mansion.
mansion then. I was hoping there would be like an extra room, but I'll just find a place in the camp.
In the encampment? Okay. Easy enough.
And other than that, I'm just going to wander around and listen.
Okay.
Look for lithids.
All right.
So, Kelian, what do you do to this poor goblin?
So first things first. No overthrowing. No installation of me as leader. Got that? All we've ever wanted, is to know about you and your god or your power. All right.
She tells you that she has long since turned her back on Hrugek and purged those in her number who kept to the old ways. That she has found more powerful god that few bugbears can speak of.
Yeah, that's who I want to know about. And Kelian picks up the cleaver and makes sure that whatever door there is closed.
Well, I mean, it's a pavilion tent, so they're just
So it's a pavilion tent?
there's just kind of
Alright.
flaps that are kind of roped off
All right,
for privacy.
but yeah, it's a goblin. Who cares? Kelian goes to town.
Okay, so
Wow.
we're going to fade out on that scene. What's the plan for when the seeming runs out? After 8 hours.
Riot's plan is everyone will have eaten by then,
Mhm.
and will be made to understand that all that food came from. I did all that with one spell.
Okay.
It wasn't a fucking cancer.
So your plan is, look, we fed you. It doesn't matter that we're not bugbears.
Yeah, we fed you. Doesn't matter, not bugbears, and also that's not all we can do. Like,
Okay.
we've shown you the carrot, but if we don't get what we want, there's a stick coming.
There's the stick coming. How much goblin is left when Kelian's done with him? Just like a percentage wise. We don't need like a graphic description.
Kelian's probably rusty, so maybe like 20%.
And I mean, as you're doing this, there's clearly no like magic ritual or anything happen. This is pure bugbear superstition. She's just basking in the violence of it, of this celestial being corrupted in this clearly horrible act. And you don't leave the goblin alive, I'm assuming.
Oh, how corrupt
No.
was Kelian? He was already
No.
pretty good.
There is some confusion amongst the camp when the seeming ends. But by this point, you were all instilled in the camp as the war chief's honored guests and new allies. And everybody pretty much believes what Riot said about how that was the carrot. Don't make us get out the stick.
When it drops, Mahogany goes, "My God, they all weren't bugbears."
In common, no doubt.
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh god, that was pretty good. That was really good.
It's the next day. When Chinax invites the five of you back into the pavilion, along with her lieutenants, to get down to business. You all have displayed vast shows of strength. You were able to fulfill all of her pressing needs. One of your number mutilated a goblin for her amusement.
What if
Kelian,
her other-
are you keeping that to yourself, or do you let everybody know what you did?
Kelian being the open and forthright, honest type.
Kelian would keep that to himself.
Keep that to himself. Okay.
Keep that one on the DL.
Yeah.
When you meet with Chinax the next day, in the center of the room, sitting atop the wooden block that's still there, you see a crude, not really an idol. It's shaped out of iron, but it looks like it was shaped out of cold iron, which means it wasn't worked. It wasn't forged. Somebody took a block of iron and hacked and chipped away at it. And the shape that's left over vaguely resembles the Relentless on the blueprint that Nath currently holds. She says that your celestial companion mentioned that you came here seeking knowledge about this creature.
We know it as the Relentless.
And she regales you with a tale about seeing it in person during a sortie in the Blood War, about how she was fighting alongside a Beatisu stronghold against a Tanari horde that was invading. This was on the plane of Gehenna. And at the time, it was thought that the Beatisu would hold. They had called in vast amounts of magic. They had strengthened their walls with spells. They had used the volcanic material of Gehenna to create an enormous trench. And they knew that the Tenari that were coming had been weakened severely in number. It was supposed to be an easy battle. And that's when the earthquake started. That's when the ground itself started falling apart. Which in Gehenna is pretty common. It's like Tuesday. But what they saw coming across the horizon was not a raving Tenari horde. It was the front of the Relentless. And its front roller towered over the walls they had built. And the trenches they had dug were no match for it, and it just barreled over everything. She was sent out along with a lot of other mortal mercenaries, quite a lot of bugbears in the group at the time, a few hobgoblins, a lot of human mercenaries as well. They were sent out to meet and deal with the relentless advance guard of flying attackers with ranged weapons and things. Which means they were able to get out of the way of the tank during that skirmish. They lost badly, and then they watched as the Relentless just crushed the stronghold they built to dust. Came right over their trenches, completely crushed and atomized their walls, and she watched thousands of Beatisu crushed under its wheels. And she knew that at that point, the way she speaks, she doesn't see it as a machine. She doesn't see it as a vehicle. She sees it as a monster. Some sort of vast and powerful creature. And she began to revere it over Hrugek. And eventually it started to grant her powers. She became more powerful. And now I want Nath and Riot to roll an Intelligence Arcana check. Mahogany, you can make this roll too. Actually, so can everybody but Kelian can make this roll.
I almost want to make a religion check to see how fucked up a god would be. It's constantly killing like thousands of Beatisu.
Is that
Like,
the
that
opposite
seems
of
like
fucked
a
up?
sacrifice.
That's a 10 for liberation.
Okay.
17 for Riot.
24 on Nath.
5.
5. Riot and Nath, the way she's describing her powers and the way that she receives them don't jive with clerics that you've met.
Or R.
Or are, yeah. Far more likely, Chinax is a warlock.
Ah. Interesting. That does explain a lot to me.
Does it?
Because, well, Riot knows that Riot knows that there is a difference between a major fiend and a power, right?
Oh, yeah.
And also knows that there are major fiends who can grant powers to warlocks, but are not themselves powers in the way that, say, Osborne is.
That's correct, yes.
So, Chinax having warlock powers, like, that snaps things into place for Riot. It's like, oh, of course.
So Chinax's goal right now is, as you are all aware, she also knows that the Relentless is due to arrive on Acheron in a short amount of time, within a matter of weeks. And
I actually have a couple of questions for her, though, based on that, if that's all right.
let me finish describing this first, because that might change the
Yeah.
nature of your questions. Her original plan, when she was part of this giant goblinoid army, was to levy the power given to her by the Relentless, take control of the army, and then gift it to the Relentless when it arrived, to march in the Relentless's vanguard. That army was destroyed, so now she's in a mode of desperation. She's trying to cobble together whatever she can as quick as she can.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what she tells you when you are speaking to her about the Relentless.
Okay.
So now who has questions? Riot, go.
I have one question.
Liberation's eyebrow twitches reflexively.
Do you, Chinax, know the name of any creature aboard the Relentless?
She's never been aboard the Relentless herself. And she just grins in response. And she says that when she sleeps, the Relentless shows her many, many things.
All right, that actually answers Riot's question. Anybody else have a question?
Like what? Like what are these things that you see?
And she explains secrets. She knows vast amounts of power that she didn't have before. Power that comes from outside of her body rather than within it. That she spent all of her wars of her life swinging her arm and not meeting a fraction of what the Relentless has granted her in the time since. She's speaking of the fact that she has considerable magic powers, but doesn't really understand the nature of them.
But like considerable for a hobgoblin, or
So how do you phrase that? I mean, are you being contemptuous?
no? Mahogany's trying to get an idea of like. He asked her questions like what kind of things she's done, and then he's trying to base that against the kind of shit that he can do.
Roll an insight check.
Yeah.
Wisdom insight. Roll well. She got a 20 plus whatever her skills are.
I'm using the top left one. That's a. Oh, I closed my character sheet. It should be on my character sheet, and is, unfortunately. That's a 23.
23. She describes some of her military prowess on Acheron, having joined up with this army that she wanted to take control of. And she's clearly embellishing a little bit, but she's describing some pretty powerful magic. I mean, she's describing creating walls of fire. She's describing necromantic abilities, the kinds of things that you would not expect like a run-of-the-mill
Warlock to get.
I was gonna say like a run-of-the-mill like wizard, like hedge wizard from Sigil to be able to do. She's definitely got some clout.
Yeah.
In game terms, I mean, she's got several warlock character levels. You could put it that way.
Yeah.
As to whether or not she's more powerful than Mahogany, I mean, if you were a betting man,
I could take this Kate encampment. I mean, let's be real. Earthquake the whole thing and run away laughing. Fly away laughing.
So here's her offer, then. She will let the 5 of you march along with her and her band, and if you're able to help attract more power to her side, consolidate her forces together, then she's going to offer those forces and her services directly to the Relentless when it's on Acheron, with the hopes that it's able to march as a supporting force alongside the Relentless.
Riot has a slight counteroffer to that.
Okay.
We'll do the stuff you want, which is, you know, march alongside you, consolidate your forces. But we'll offer your services to the Relentless. We have business with the Relentless, and we need a bargaining chip. And either way, you will get to serve the Relentless. Either way.
She says that you will introduce yourself to their emissaries as her servant. She says that the understanding is that she doesn't want them to believe she's under you.
Riot says, I will not introduce myself as anybody's servant.
Kelian doesn't say anything, but he's definitely thinking about that moment last night about like, oh, maybe we should have overthrown Riot. I don't know.
And she regards that with a great deal of suspicion. She asks, what images has the Relentless sent to you? What have you seen during your slumber?
Actually, no, yeah, okay. Riot is going to answer that and describe what she knows about Eldov.
Okay. What does she know about Eldov?
She knows what he looks like. She knows he is a powerful sorcerer. She knows he's caught in some kind of fire. It wasn't really clear about what was going on in that card, but like that's what she's got to go on visually. This a captive, powerful sorcerer. Some kind of elf?
That's what you're serving in your mansion, right? Feeding the bugbears. You're serving like like elf cold cuts,
Some kind of
elf drumsticks.
elf?
I'm not sure Riot's met a lot of elves.
Does
I mean,
anyone
she'll
else
say it's
get
elf.
involved in this little pissing match between Riot and Chinax?
Oh no,
Nothing.
not even a little bit.
Mahogany's trying to figure out. Wait, what are we here for again?
In fact, I'm gonna go get a cookie. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Pop into the hut. Or the
Like, so
mansion.
if you look over at Mahogany, his eyes are squinted, and he's looking around. He's like, wait a second.
I'm bored.
Riot, make a straight charisma check.
Okay. And I can add half my proficiency to this.
Can you?
Is it? If you're telling me that I don't get to add my proficiency, then I get to add half my proficiency.
Okay. From what? Class feature?
Yeah.
What if you tell him that he gets to add a quarter of his proficiency?
Okay. So this turns into a 16.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to go ahead and put some more juice on that.
Just put a little stank on it.
Yeah. Okay, 18 then.
Okay.
Not a great D12 roll, but whatever.
There is nothing you can do to convince Chinax to put forth a front to the Relentless, like in a way that she's underneath you.
Yeah.
She cannot do that.
Okay.
However, she's also not willing to turn you away. There's too much potential here. You guys wield too much power. And just the march to the Relentless, your magic door filled with elf cold cuts will be of endless use to her. But she doesn't have a third option.
Right.
So what do you propose?
I will come clean to her a bit about our business with the Relentless.
Okay.
I'll say this is what we're after. Some time ago, I was summoned into the Relentless, myself, personally. Those serving the Relentless conjured me. And they, like you, wanted my service. I didn't find out what they wanted it for, because I gave them the same answer I gave you. I don't serve anybody. But as time passed, I became curious to find out what they wanted my service for. And that is what I mean to find out from them. We may strike an alliance. But neither you nor they will have my service.